Okay, so this is part two, and one of the big things I was talking about in today's vlog is Psyops. So let's continue in that vein. Now, you guys will know that I often talk about this new channel I discovered, Wandering Turnip, who does good reviews of town centres, giving a barometer of economic activity, shops that are closing down, towns doing well versus those that aren't, and discussing levelling up money. Now, what I was interested about is invariably he comes on and he says, oh, well, I get these comments and people are saying that I'm so negative and I'm talking things down and I should be more positive. And I think this is it's a form of censorship. It's also a form of cyberbullying because people are coming on there with an agenda. And the agenda said, be positive. You mustn't be negative. Yeah, fair enough. But why mustn't we report on the reality? It's almost like fact-shaming. He's talking about things that are relevant, that maybe some MPs should be watching. I mean, if they gave a damn, which obviously we know they don't, but it's useful information for everybody to get a real idea of what's going on in the economy. It's something the mainstream media would never cover. And so it's brilliant that the alternative are doing it, but they're almost trying to bully people out of doing it. Okay. The other thing I was thinking, now, a lot of us who grew up sort of the 80s and 90s and even further on, what was one of the big stories around the world? It was the IRA, the sectarian violence in Northern Ireland, which I think made the news pretty much all over the world. And what were we led to believe? We were led to believe that the Catholic community in Northern Ireland was keen for there to be a united Republic of Ireland, and that they were kind of at loggerheads or in conflict with the Protestants living in Northern Ireland, who had unionist tendencies and had more allegiance to the United Kingdom and therefore wanted Northern Ireland or Ulster to stay as part of the United Kingdom. That was the narrative we were fed. So we've got Catholic versus Protestant, nationalistic, the IRA, blah, blah, blah. But then the IRA kind of morphs into Sinn Féin, a political party. And what is Sinn Féin all about? Well, they're massively pro-open borders. So they want immigration from all around the world, of non-Catholics, any old person, whoever, non-Irish. They for mass immigration, no problem. They love the EU, so they're not too worried about Ireland having all their decisions made in Brussels by faceless, nameless bureaucrats from as far afield as Poland, Lithuania, Finland. But as long as, the Brits aren't making decisions, so they're not really nationalists either. And are they really Catholics? Because they are very much pro-abortion and pro-gay marriage, which is fair enough. Be pro whatever you want to, but it's not really Catholic, is it? So basically, that conflict is a total lie. Because when it comes to that, what is now happening to Ireland has the fastest demographic deterioration. It's morphing into another melting pot country that'll just be the same as every other melting pot country in a world of faceless, nameless countries where borders fall down and where we go into this globalist system. And they're very pro-globalist. So that conflict was sold to us. And what was it really about? Just creating division between people who had no reason to be divided. And then again, we think of this whole Israel thing and we think, well, maybe that's not what's being sold to us either. In many ways. Obviously, that's a complex one. Don't want to go there too extensively now. So those were two things that I was definitely thinking of that just aren't what we are led to believe they are. Okay. Discussed a few things about Elon Musk and blah, blah, blah. What else? And John O'Looney, that's interesting. Twitter. I think there's more censorship going on than ever. I've noticed a marked decline in the interest of the posts I'm seeing. I'm seeing a very small variety of posts, far more advertising, and also I'm seeing a lot of these posts from people I don't follow who I obviously have no interest in. So I think they are bombarding our timeline with things that are totally disinteresting. Because what I've noticed is I don't really bother to look at Twitter, whereas initially last year, once sort of Musk took over, it did become more interesting for a while. There was lots more engagement, interesting things to see. Suddenly, it's really boring me, and I thought, why am I so bored here? And it's just because the kind of posts you're seeing are not tailored to you, not interesting, or not about the people that you mainly follow. So there's definitely something going on there, and there's a shutdown. As you know, it doesn't really surprise me. In fact, there was some new thing they were talking about where Twitter's also going to become your telephone. So you can use it like as a telephone. Isn't this wonderful prep for a social credit score? Because once you've got your telephone on there and he wants to put your banking on there. And then you've got all your people you follow and your political opinions on there. It's absolutely perfect for social score. Even if people aren't putting political opinions on there, they may be putting like preferences, eating meat, recipes, how many times they get drunk and go out on the town, they travel, so they can keep a tab on what everyone's doing. It's just perfect, isn't it? I noticed that Liz Truss is over in the USA and she was on the Steve Bannon show. And I noticed this endeared her to a lot of what I would call the new emerging fake right, who were very excited about this. No, there's not anything exciting about any politician. At this stage, anyone who is in a major political party or even one of the minor ones is just involved in a grift, because there is no change that's going to happen on a political level. And I'm afraid people like Lawrence Fox as well is just, it's a grift. UKIP, it's just a way of, I don't know, enjoying yourself politically and making some money when you gotta know you're never going to have any effect, obviously, for many, many different reasons. Even the time scale quickly now to 2030. We know that Labour's going to win their next election. That takes us, 2024, another, 4 or 5 years. We're nearly up to 2030, aren't we? So, what is the role of these small parties? There is no role. It's giving people hopium and still keeping some people plugged in the political process. Right now, I don't even know if it's worthwhile discussing politics. Who wins elections, how well everyone does. Is it worth discussing any political party, whether big or small? Probably not. Okay, I think I discussed those. I discussed Harvard, Armenia, Shamin. Yeah. So, I was just thinking that about Ireland, and it just reminded me that really wasn't what was sold to us. So very interesting. And we'll see what happens this weekend. Rather quiet. Like I say, at the moment, so many of the news stories I feel are either totally fabricated nonsense, stuff that isn't really happening, or stuff that's so marginal and so irrelevant. Why would we even be bothered with it? Anyway, I hope you guys have a good weekend. Hope you enjoy these. Sorry, we're not really all about astrology, but I think that it's all context to what I will be talking about when we do some more charts. Someone says, will I look at the chances of Trump winning? Yes, I will. We'll have a look, because it's going to be something that people are heavily focused on. Like, for example, I think Alex Jones has now become like the Donald Trump supporters channel, and that's pretty much all it's going to be about, despite the fact that I don't believe an awful lot can be achieved. But of course, anything's better than the Democrats optically, if nothing else. But it's all about the funding, and it all boils down to something. Oh, yes. On the topic, when I was talking about leveling up and the different places, you hear so often in the mainstream media, they talk about white privilege. Have a look at some of the videos that have been done on Cornwall, Devon, up in the northeast and northwest. I'm thinking in the northeast of Blythe. I'm thinking in the northwest of Barrow-in-Furness, down in Cornwall, places like St Austell, but there are a lot of other places there. There are places in Somerset and in Devon. Now, these places, particularly the places, Cornwall, Somerset and Devon, are vast majority white. We're talking almost 98% white. They are some of the most deprived areas. Cornwall and Wales are some of the most deprived areas in the whole of Europe, right? And they're majority white. Now, I know there are other ethnic areas that are also deprived in the UK, but when they talk about white privilege, it's always worth mentioning to people that they are dreadfully deprived areas all over the UK, former mining areas, and that applies to Cornwall as well, where they used to mine tin and other things and coal, former fishing areas that have lost those industries. So there are areas all over the UK. They're incredibly deprived. And when they talk about white privilege because of colonialism, do you really think that when people were living in the UK in Dickensian times, they were benefiting from colonialism? Overall, anything like colonialism or any sort of privilege has only been enjoyed by the people at the top who've creamed it and milked it, not by the general people. So it's a massive stereotype, a generalization, and an inaccuracy to even talk about something like white privilege, which it doesn't exist. Go look at Cornwall. Go and look at some of the deprived areas in the northeast, northwest, Scotland too. Probably Northern Ireland as well. There are lots of them.